Hi, my name is Fredrik Ankarskold and I would like to welcome you to this show Lyckopodden, a place for you to expand your consciousness and becoming the happiest person you can be. Today I have the honor of broadcasting an amazing conversation between two people, Jörgen Tranberg and Nassim Haramein. And we will all come together later this year between the 19th to the 22nd of October at Tylösand in Sweden, together with lots of speakers. And until then, I would like you to enjoy this conversation.
Thank you very much for actually making this time, because I know it's very early for you, right? It's like 8:45 or 9 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, and it's Saturday, and I have the kids, so it's
Okay.
but it's all good. I'm glad I'm able to be here. I'm glad to connect with you guys.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, where I'm right now, I'm in North Cyprus, in an area what's called Pine Valley. And what we're doing here is that there is some people, both people, investors and similar things, and also people from the university. They are really interesting to build up a new community where like conscious and compassion is going to be like the main thing. So we're actually exploring here, and they don't have any observatorium here. So and they actually have decided they're going to build the first observatorium here in Cyprus. So we are in a very special time here, which is a little bit similar to what I know that what you try to do.
Yeah, well, pioneer work is always challenging and exciting at the same time.
Exactly. You need to really be patient, like I have been, because I've been following you for 22 years. So it took actually 22 years before I was able to get to reach you.
Yeah.
So you're right. You need to be really, really patient.
That's right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I have a lot of patience, as you can see, and here.
I appreciate.
Okay. Yeah, wonderful, splendid. So let's talk a little bit, because I mean, a lot of people all around the world, but also especially like in Sweden, is going to see this here. So tell me a little bit who you are and a little bit your background.
My background is that I have studied physics in a very special way as an independent. And as well, anthropology, archaeology, and ancient civilization for some 30 years. And I've compiled the information and combined the information of ancient tradition and knowledge with advanced physics. I found a solution to unification of physics that has been sought of for over 100 years. And it's quite effective, and it makes predictions that have been verified in an accelerator in Switzerland at this point. So to give you an idea in relative to what's out there right now, the only other competing unified field theory is string theory. And string theory, in some 3 decades of investigation, thousands of physicists, billions of dollars spent, has not been able to do one single prediction that was verified in laboratory. So it's exciting. My theory is gaining much more popularity now that it's been verified. And but what's exciting about it is what it says about the universe, ourselves, and our relationship to it. And it basically says that everything is connected at a very, very deep level.
Yeah. I mean, as you understand, I've been following you like in depth, and I really knows about your work and your contribution. But what is the purpose with this? That to get people to understand that we all are connected.
Well, what's important. There's a bunch of different things. One is that the theory is extremely precise, and it gives us a completely new understanding of matter, how matter comes to exist and the universe that it is. But as well, um, it tells us that matter, so that when we look at one proton, or when we look at one electron or one atom or one molecule, we're actually looking at the relationship between all protons, all electrons, all molecules. That things cannot be isolated. Whoops, I lost you there. I don't know what happened. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I can hear you.
Okay. So basically, it has implications as well to technology. That is, this new theory tells us something completely different about gravity. It tells us a deeper level of understanding of gravity. It doesn't make Einstein wrong. It just gives us a deeper level of understanding of what Einstein was saying. That is, Einstein said that gravity is the result of space curving around an object, curvature of space-time, but he didn't describe what space-time was. This theory actually tells you that space-time acts like a superfluid. And so that leads to very deep level of understanding of gravity, which leads to technological changes that will completely transform the world. That is, gravity control becomes possible. All of a sudden, you can all of a sudden control gravity. And, all of the world, the modern world we have today is the result of us learning to control electromagnetic fields and then use them for electricity, for communication, for everything we do. The next level for humanity is to understand gravity and learn to control it, which will give us gravitational drives, the possibility to birth our civilization into a space civilization, space travel. All this becomes very much possible very quickly. As well, production of energy directly from the structure of space. So it will change the world very fundamentally. But then at the even deeper level, past the theory and the technology, what the theory tells us is that actually consciousness is not an epiphenomena of what's happening in your brain, but actually consciousness is an information field in space-time that your brain and your whole body is connected to, just like an antenna, capturing information and sending information like a transceiver. And I just wrote my first paper in biophysics. Usually I only write papers in physics. And it was just published at Neuroquantology, which is a peer-reviewed journal. And it describes consciousness as this relationship with the structure of space. And that has a deep meaning, philosophical meaning and social meaning, because it tells us we're all connected through the same field of information that makes up all of the material world, the biology, and eventually a self-aware being or a conscious being.
So, excuse me. So what you're basically saying that without the relationship, no matter actually would exist. And with this kind of relation and the standard relation, because my field is, as you know, my field is biology. Since I'm coming from medicine, I've been always so incredibly interested from a biology point of view to look at just the relation, because the relation seems to be like the key to really increase your conscious mind, and from there you can get some kind of connection where we talk about like thoughts and where you is connected to feelings, because I'm not really so sure if brain is actually thinking, but that is a personal opinion. I think that the brain is
No, I think you're right. I think it's the whole body that acts like an antenna. The brain is just translating. And what's really amazing is that the antenna is fractal, meaning like you have larger parts, like the brain, the heart, all the different organs, and then you have the molecular structure, like the neurons and all this stuff, and then you have the atomic structure and subatomic structure. But when I solve these equations for the subatomic structure, this is what's really exciting, is that the equation, the craziest part in the equation is that the equation contains the mass of the universe in it. That is, the equation utilizes the mass of all the protons in the universe to output the mass of one proton. And so it's actually the equation that tells you that one proton is always in connection, in a holographic connection through these micro wormholes to all the other protons in the universe. The whole thing is holographic and connected. And what we call mass or energy is actually the amount of information that's moving through the network.
Yeah. So what you're basically saying that there is a lot of information for the human being to actually receive. If we are interested to understand this connection and the relationship with the connection, right? Is that my right understanding?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The mathematical, exactly. The mathematical equation actually says that you have all the information of all things in the universe in each one of your protons. And so within yourself, you hold all the information, and your consciousness is only a very small part of the information that you have access to. And the access is not outside yourself, but inside yourself. Yeah. And so it links back to what many ancient civilization and master talked about, that the kingdom of the heaven is within, that God is within, that everything has God in it, and all this stuff. Like it really matches some of the most advanced thinkers and philosophies you find around the world. So all of a sudden, philosophy and physics come together, and biology. And so it's very, very powerful. And it really changes. You see, because all discoveries that were significant came from somebody having a gut feeling, having a feeling within themselves. They have access to the information. And then after, they might write math to prove it, right? But it doesn't come from just writing math and trying to find a solution, because that can lead you anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, I was wondering, for me it's like music. Even though if I'm not really sure if anyone understands it, what you're saying, but so the question is, if we're going to look like for people like daily lives, to get a flow in life, to get like whatever, passion in life, to get bliss in life, it's really about to understand this on a daily basic level to get relation.
Yes, to connect to ourselves at deepest level, because at that level is all the information that makes you, and that makes the rest of you. And from that place, then you're in deep relationship with nature, with the natural world, with all the atoms. You can actually start to feel the connection you have with the chair and the table and the walls. And, you can actually start to have empathy for everything that's around you, connection to everything around you. And then you walk into the world in a completely different way.
Yeah, which is really to change the whole perception of yourself and like the whole nature and the whole world.
Yeah, and it changes well the way we think of education and the way we think of learning, because learning, you're getting information from the outside, but as well there's an inner learning, there's an inner knowing that exists, and most people ignore that. And actually that's the part that is the most powerful,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just really why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've been doing what I'm doing for so many years, to get people to understand with the skills. If we can use the science or skill to get people to really get in relation, it's going to open up the conscious mind, and you're going to be able to receive so much information, which is basically what you're saying. It's just information here who is in relation, because what is out there or what is in there is just a different kind of perception from the mind.
Right. This is what's really crazy about this equation, is that within the volume of a proton, which is very small, it's 10 to the minus 39 centimeter cube, it's very, very small volume. There is, in terms of information of, it's called Planck oscillators. It's the smallest electromagnetic oscillation in the universe. It's like a bit of information. And it's the only natural units of measurements we have. All the other ones are arbitrary. This one is based on the gravitational constant and the speed of light, so it's a real measurement. And you can think of the little oscillators, each one as being one bit of information. When you calculate how many there is in the little proton, in this little volume, there is all the information of all the other protons in the universe in one proton. But this is restricted by the boundary of the proton that can only let a small amount of that information come out. And so that's how the equation works. I calculated how much information is able to come out. And when I calculated that, it gives the exact energy or the exact mass of the proton and its radius and everything. And I was able to predict exactly what the radius of the proton should be. And then it was verified in an accelerator in Switzerland. And my prediction is exact. It's very, very, very precise. Where the standard model is off by 4%. So it makes it's very esoteric concept, but it makes very precise predictions about the world. And because then I was able to use the same equation to predict all the electrons of the table of elements and the gravitational constants and all this, and so. The gravitational coupling constants and all this. And so basically it leads as well to not only understanding the connection we have with the universe, but developing technology that have the same connection with the universe that we have, so that we can control the structure of gravity, the structure of space-time, so that we have gravitational drives. We can even manifest matter. We can produce matter right out of the structure of space. I mean, all the things you see in Star Trek becomes possible, like the replicators, beam me up, Scotty, kind of thing. All that stuff becomes possible, and it will change the world very dramatically. And it's really important because we're at the moment that it's
exactly.
I mean, right now in Florida, millions of people are being affected by a huge hurricane, and there's another one right behind it. People are dying, and it's there's definitely climatic change that are occurring on our planet. And we have to make changes that are significant very quickly. And this type of technology can do that.
Yeah, because I also think that if you look at the world is really crazy. And from my point of view, the reason why the world is crazy, because people don't really understand what kind of resources they really have here. And if we can use the science to really reach people, not just science, to get to use the science so people understand the science. From my point of view, it will be actually so easy to change the world if we have enough many people who will understand exactly what you now have described.
Yeah, this is why it's critical, and this is why I'm spending so much time, getting the message out and educating the public about this new science that's emerging, because people must know that there's an alternative to what is out there, because we're not going to overcome the problems we have with solar panels or windmills or we need something very fundamental. We need something very deep and very world changing. And this possibility exists with this new theory in physics that are emerging, and it will change everything we do. You can imagine how your world looks like when you can go and orbit Jupiter for the weekend. Well, if you have gravitational drives, that is no problem anymore. All of a sudden it becomes possible easily to go to Jupiter for the weekend.
Yeah, that would be nice. Maybe we can actually, after this conference, next conference, we can put it in Jupiter.
Yes. Well, I know that it sounds really out there for people, but...
Yeah. But not from me.
Okay. Because, before we had the planes, for instance, before the Wright brothers invented the plane.
Exactly.
People thought it was crazy to even think that you could go to Australia, in a few hours. And now we do it every day. We don't even think twice about it.
No,
right?
Exactly.
We take a plane. We go across the world. We don't even think twice about it.
No, exactly.
And so all this happened because one simple discovery, about aerodynamic structures, is the same. One simple discovery about the nature of gravity will have such a profound impact socially.
Yeah. So what we need actually is, you have not said it, but since I have read so much about it and I have the same kind of ideas, we need to have people who have the courage to think differently. And we definitely need to have people who is willing to act differently.
Right. Exactly. And that have the courage not only to think differently and act differently, but as well invest differently.
Yeah, exactly. That's what was my third part. People who has financial strength, who is willing to use the money to open up this conscious possibility and change every individual, and then in the long run societies, and then hopefully rest of the world.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of courage.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You won't get support from the people around you. Typically,
no.
Maybe your family will not understand.
No, I did the same thing what you did at the end of the night.
I'm sorry?
Because people thought I was crazy. No, I was saying that, no, I definitely know what you mean, because I left the academic world in the 90s, in the middle of 90s, just because people thought that I was crazy.
Yes, I understand.
And the craziness was just that I had different thought, who was also very science-based.
Exactly. And it's so sad, because that is science. Science is actually, having new ideas and verifying them and following the data, following the, what is you get back from experiments, from observation, and so on. And it's remarkable in this world that any scientist that step aside from what is already known or from where the mainstream is going, right away get marginalized and ridiculed, and that is so contrary to science.
Absolutely.
And then on top of it, people that do that are thought to be unscientific, where in fact they are the ones that are doing the real science. And
exactly.
It's happened over the years, over and over again. Every time there was a big discovery, it was from an outsider that was thinking their own thought, and they were ridiculed, and they were put down, and in some case they were put to jail, in some case they were killed. So it's really my work has been censored. In so much debate, so much difficulty to publish, difficulty to finance my laboratories, when in fact this investigation should really be the forefront of what science in physics is looking at, because if it's looking at things in a different way, then there's probably something valid to extract from that, and it should be investigated.
And at least have a discussion, have an open, curious discussion about it. Which I find is very interesting, because most people what I have been in contact with, which is really not really follow my thoughts and the way I look at science, is that I find it very often this open, curious conversation is very often not there.
Exactly. People confuse skepticism with closed-minded.
Absolutely.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, so I can imagine that you have done the same thing. You have run your own race, and then a lot of scientists, researchers have come to you. So now you have, obviously, for many years back, you have created your own research team, right?
Exactly. And so now, I have PhD physicists that are applying to our laboratory that want to come and work with us, because they would love to be outside of the mainstream institution and be able to think their own thoughts. Because they feel restricted in the mainstream institution, because if they say anything different than the rest, right away their peers will segregate them, and they will be ridiculed, and they can lose their job. So more and more scientists are coming my way. I had to finance my own laboratories, finance my own research. And luckily, I found amazing individuals along the way that helped me financially. But it's always a struggle, and it shouldn't be,
No, absolutely. No. I recognize this. I've also been doing this now for like 30 years. And the same thing is that for many years, I usually say like for 10 years, I tried to convince people, and it was usually like talking to a wall. Then I stopped to convince, follow my heart, really use the science skills I had. And then after all this year, a lot of scientists and researchers have come to me. So now, we also have like a research team. And I think that there is so many researchers, scientists out there who really would like to doing what you and I are doing. And they just need to know that there is another way, to not like a better or worse way or whatever, but there is another way to use like the science.
Exactly, and that there is more and more teams like yours and I that are open, and that can that they can participate in and be able to think their own thoughts and let their imagination fly, which is
exactly.
This is really why Einstein said imagination is more important than facts, because this is where the deepest knowledge comes from. It comes from within you, and then you compare it to the facts after, and you
Yeah.
and that guides you to higher and higher sets of understanding.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's really important that these institutions start to get more and more known and exist, so that
Hmm.
students, so many students out there are so discouraged,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
in science is remarkable.
Yeah. So let's also say that thanks God that you were not born 300 years ago, because then we would be in jail now for the rest of the life.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or burnt at the stake.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably first jail and then burn.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So since I have now, it's actually myself and my wife who is astronomer. We have invited you to this big event. And is this right that it's the first time you actually coming to Scandinavia and then having like a speech and lecture?
Yeah, absolutely. I've never been to Northern Europe like this, and I
Oh,
really
wonderful.
look forward to it.
As you, yeah, as you can see, there are a few Swedes over there.
Yes.
I actually, Katarina, 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 yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to invite you to one of the researchers here, so she's coming over here.
Oh,
Okay,
great.
so do you have any kind of relationship to Sweden in any ways?
No, I've studied some of the work of Swedish scientists.
Hmm.
There's a lot of good Swedish scientists, but I have
Hmm.
not been able to go there or connect with any of them. So it's really exciting for me to be able to go there and connect with the community there, especially the community that, is related to you, that is open-minded, and that, where the information can flow. Because I think a lot of the, northern countries there have a lot to offer the world, both socially, but as well as the way they do science. Hi, it's
Yeah, I'm going to introduce her very soon. I just gonna let you finish your sentence, but it seems like you get stopped just a sentence. How come?
I get stuck. What?
No, it seems like when you saw my friend here,
Ah,
your sentence was just cut off.
I know, because she's so beautiful.
Oh yeah, that was my point.
Yes, my mind wandered.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So let me ask you, like in few sentences, if it's possible, and you can use a little bit more in few sentences, but why are people gonna come to this event? Like, what will you contribute? Like, how is that gonna make their daily life a little bit easier? Like, what will you offer? Why is it worth for them to really come to this event? I mean, I have an answer, but I would love to hear your answer.
I think, when people come to my talks, there is a deep recognition of fundamental concepts, fundamental truth that
Yeah,
that all of a sudden sink into them. Because, for instance, many people have the concept that we're all connected, but they don't
yeah,
know how that's possible. And when they actually understand the physics and the mechanics on how that's true, then it gives them a roadmap, to be
yeah,
able to go deeper and understand, that this is not some esoteric thought, but it actually is the way the world works, and the mechanics under which it works, and how your consciousness emerge out of it, and all this. So it has really deep meanings. People people feel transformed after coming to these talks. Typically, they feel different when they come out, because they feel a deeper sense of themselves, the relationship they have to the universe,
yeah.
and the relationship they have to themselves. So it has really a deep meaning for people in general. So
Yeah.
I think it's great value to even just come and just stay open-minded and just absorb the information and see what connects and what resonates with you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks God, because this was exactly the reason why I was actually invite you.
Oh, thank you.
Imagine if you had said something else.
Then I would have been
Okay. Yeah. Then I would have had second thoughts. Okay, no, I'm very happy and very pleased that you are actually coming. And for me, on a very personal level, it's a huge thing that you're coming to. And I just see that this is just the first thing of something that we are most likely can explore together. For example, this kind of people here who are like investors and things like that, they are looking for people like you and myself and the people we have around us. Because in the long run, I really, truly believe on a personal level, this is the way we can do it. So we're going to be able to have a word in more compassion. That's why that's why our organization is called Academy Compassion. But I truly believe that this is the very profound right way to do it.
Yes, well, it's time for us to all connect, but as well, when you understand that everything is connected at a very fundamental level of physics, then all of a sudden compassion is a natural state because you feel like you're connected to everything. And so you have compassion for all things.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's just a result. It's not like, it's like a state of being, of understanding the connectivity of all things.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also going to introduce my friend and my colleague. She's Katarina Mannheimer. She has a PhD, but I'm going to let her, because you will meet her in Sweden. She actually will be one of the speakers, and she's also one of the people in our research team. So I'm going to, just for a few minutes, I'm just going to let her introduce herself.
Hello, Nassim.
Hello,
can you hear
Catherine.
Me? Hello,
yes,
how are you?
Good, it's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. We will be seeing each other in Tylösand, and I know we're friends on Facebook. And we will be seeing each other in Monaco too. And because you will come there to speak as well. Is that right?
I'm not sure that we're doing Monaco anymore. I think Monaco
we are doing April. Actually.
We are in April, actually.
Okay.
You didn't know that.
I didn't.
Okay.
My staff just say, go over there and talk. So I do whatever they tell me.
See you in Monaco in April, but before then in October. And I am one of the research team in Academy Compassion, and I did my PhD at the University of Chicago, and yes, in social work, in clinical social work. And then I went on back to Sweden, where I live, and taught for almost 10 years at the University of Stockholm, basically in psychology, but also research methodology. And then because I went through some personal crisis, I really had to humble myself to the true wisdom, and made a very long journey that made me leave the university and later find that everything I can find inside, I can use theory and research just to verify it. So my true passion is to really build bridges between the traditional and the wisdom we have inside. And especially I'm burning so much for helping people understand that separation is not obligatory. We're not born that way. Things happen to us that makes us separate ourselves and from others. And if we simplify that process so that people can understand that I have a choice here, I can find a way to love and be kind to the one I once was, the true self, then I also become connected in my heart to everybody else around me. And It's not,
Right.
it's a choice, and we need to make it so simple and clear that people can understand that it is a choice. We do not have to separate. So I've
Right.
studied the ego a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a choice, and it's a feeling as well, because when
Yes.
you actually start to understand this is really how the universe works, it's not just
Yes.
philosophy, then you can start to actually feel the connection.
Yes.
Feel the connection between all of your atoms and
Yes.
all of your cells and all of the atoms and cells outside yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing miracle that we are, 100 trillion cell. You're made 100 trillion cell. It's amazing,
It is amazing.
There's 1,000 billion chemical change every second in your body for you to stay alive,
Yes, isn't it? A magic. It's magic.
Yeah, and it's all from amazing connection and connectivity through the whole system that this is possible. And then each cell is made of 100 trillion atoms. So it's 100 trillion multiplied by 100 trillion to get to the atomic structure of such a beautiful being like you. And that it's
What about
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's beautiful too.
Yes, but it's such a miracle. It's such an amazing thing, and people forget that. They get caught up in the daily life, and they forget the amazing miracle it is that they're alive and that they're conscious, which is an amazing thing. And when you feel that connection, when you connect with it, all of a sudden, your world expands to the universe. You realize you are the universe. You are connected to the whole thing. And compassion just falls out of it.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah, and empathy.
Yeah. Empathy does, yes, and self-love too.
Yeah.
So I'm looking very much forward to meeting you in person, Nassim, and I'll give this back to Jörgen, but thank you very much, and take care.
So
See you
great to
soon.
meet you.
Okay, thank you. Great to meet you too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, wonderful. So let's wrap this up a little bit with thank you so much for taking your time. I'm also a father, and I know that we need to spend the time with the children, and so I hope you're going to have a wonderful time with your kids and have a lovely weekend. And I'm going to ask all the guys, are we looking forward to see Nassim in Sweden in October? Okay.
Thank you. Me too. I look forward to meeting you all.
Wonderful. And okay, so enjoy the weekend. And now we're going to have a little bit of what they call party.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Enjoy. And I will be with you guys in spirit. And I will see you in Sweden very soon. Much love to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much.
I would like to thank Jörgen and Nassim for this amazing conversation. And if you want to know more, you can read about it in the description. That is it for today's show, and I will see you either in Tylösand or in the next podcast.